Pursuant to a crime emergency that President Trump rightly declared,
these young people should be at home in West Virginia with their families.
This is what happens in this country when people are allowed in who are not properly vetted.
So, as I'm sure many of you are aware by now, a few days ago there was a horrific shooting in Washington, D.C., and of course, where there is tragedy, there is MAGA Republicans trying to capitalize off it politically, so leave us a like on the video. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, and let's get some thorough debunking of these clowns out of the way.
Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll let that speak for themselves.
If or when he was granted asylum, if you could just clarify that timeline and...
Yes, I believe Kristi Noem put that out, and that's a DHS matter, and I'll refer it to them.
This is a dodge because he knows the answer and it was under Trump, but I do want to take a moment to be clear in a way that MAGA never would. This is not a fault of asylum. There is no vetting process that will catch every individual who will end up doing something bad, and because of that is not a knock on asylum. The shooter worked with a CIA-backed unit. He fought against the Taliban with them. He's lived in the US for 4 years with no criminal record, had 5 kids. It's not irresponsible that he was let in originally in 2021, and it's not irresponsible that he was formally granted asylum in 2025 under Trump. Though I will say, we all know if it happened under Biden, it would have been woke open border policies letting everyone in. They're probably going to try to do that framing anyway because he came in originally under Biden despite Trump also formally clearing him with asylum. And of course, again, if it happened under Biden, it would be the reason we need to ban all immigration. But instead, because Trump did do the asylum, they're probably only going to go about halfway in on that.
They came here to protect the people of the district, pursuant to a crime emergency that President Trump rightly declared in this city and in other cities across the country. Our nation's capital should not and must not be a place where evil comes to commit violence, whatever their cause or motive may be. We should not have to live in fear in the nation's capital, especially by one who came here from a foreign country. And through a process that was so absurd that he came through and released into this country, as many were, knowing virtually nothing about his vetting. This is what happens in this country when people are allowed in who are not properly vetted.
So a few things here. He was, again, formally vetted by the Trump administration and given asylum. So like, who is she talking about? Trump? It's just an insane claim all the way around, though. There's also something to be said about how the left warned that this would be inevitable if Trump kept the National Guard in blue cities for no reason, marched through with ICE, with the Marines in LA, that eventually things would escalate if he kept on this path. But of course, Trump did not heed those warnings and does not care. This is entirely on Trump and MAGA's hands, but it is funny that the party with the worst national security failure in 9/11, the worst foreign policy failure in Iraq, the worst disaster response in Hurricane Katrina, and the worst economic collapse in 2008, and the worst response to a public health situation in COVID in our lifetime, is now trying to lecture us on immigration policy. Like, the fact that they still think they have any political capital with anyone with above 80 IQ is absurd to me.
Somebody drove across the country, came to Washington, D.C. to attack America. And that person will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These young people should be at home in West Virginia with their families.
Right, and it should not be forgotten. DC did not ask for these troops. They did not want them. Crime was dropping before they came. They were not one of the worst cities to warrant this in terms of like the red cities with more crime that were being ignored. Trump having the National Guard there was only for some totalitarian show of intimidation against Democrats. It was entirely unwarranted and uncalled for. And when you realize that these clowns just want some authoritarian one-party regime, them saying anything like this about tragedies, trying to connect it to Democrats, all of this makes a lot more sense. I just wish that the responsibility, those whose decisions actually enabled this, would take accountability for once in their life.